Hey y'all, this is Courtney, which is Nurse Court, and today we are going to be planning my 2026 garden. I'm so excited, I can't wait. I have gone through my seeds and I have all my seeds here except for just a very few that I ordered because I didn't have any of the seeds. So there's just a handful of seeds that I don't have in here, but I still have them written down and we're going to talk about them and what I'm going to plant in my garden, I think, for 2026. So one of the things I want to do this year is trying to grow more herbs. Last year I did a little bit of herb growing in my green stock, but I didn't grow a ton of herbs in there. I just had a handful. And some of them did really well, like my basil and oregano did fantastic. I got a little bit of lemon balm out of there last year, not a lot. And I don't know if I ever got any of the spearmint saved or not. And then my rosemary just didn't grow at all. I've come to find out that rosemary is kind of a tricky one and sometimes doesn't grow well. So I'm going to try it again this year, but I think I'm going to try starting it inside way earlier in the season and see if that will make a difference. But so I have my little cheat sheets here because once I go through my herbs, kind of as I'm going through them, I am going to organize them out of when I want to plant them. So I just grabbed a notebook, wrote this down after I wrote down all of my plans of what I wanted to grow, that I knew for sure I wanted to grow. Then I grabbed my seed packets and I threw them in the little photo containers. I have these little photo boxes that I use to organize all my seeds in. I have 4 of them and I actually probably need another 1 or 2, but I'm trying to not go crazy because I have lots of seeds. And so I have my seeds organized out in those photo boxes by the warm crops, the cool crops, and then I have one just for tomatoes, which it is full and overflowing and I need more. And then I have one for herbs, and that's another one that I need more for, because I need one probably just for herbs and then one just for flowers. So I really probably need 2 more photo boxes, but I need to probably just go through my current tomatoes and figure out what ones I'm going to be growing again, what ones I'm not, and I probably just need to edit out some of my tomatoes. So anyway, so what I did once I went through my seeds and figured out kind of what I wanted to grow, after I wrote down everything like off the top of my head, then I just pulled them out and put them into these. So these are not in any kind of real order specifically. I just grabbed them out as I was going through my boxes. So we are going to go through and then organize these out into when I need to start planting them. And so I did go ahead and I wrote down, I went through each seed packet and I wrote down like how many weeks to start prior to planting out. So like starting indoors, direct sowing, that kind of stuff. And I made little notes and I just kind of wrote this down as just a little guide. So I'm going to follow that just so I can remember. And then as we go through them, I made little baggies that I will put the seed packets in. So I did one for 12 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 weeks, and then a baggie for direct sowing, which will be just a few things that I will actually end up direct sowing. So here we go. We're just going to jump right in here. So my first seeds that's on top is lavender, and I have never grown this before. I have heard that it's very hard to grow from seed. So we're going to see. It has to cold stratify for 3 to 6 weeks before you actually can get the seeds they start to germinate, I think, during this cold stratification process. And then you take them out at that point and put them actually into little seed trays once they've kind of started to sprout. So I'm going to try this. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I've been doing some research on it, and what people will do is get a damp paper towel and then they will sprinkle the seeds on there and then put them in the refrigerator, and then about 6 weeks later, they'll take them out, 4 to 6 weeks, and then hopefully they have sprouted, some of them, and then the ones that have sprouted, then I'll actually plant them. So we're gonna see. So that one there, this is real iffy, but we're gonna try it. But at the 12-week process or 12-week time frame, which for me in zone 7A here in Kansas, that is around January 15th. And another thing that I did is I took my cell phone, went into my calendar, and then I created just reminders for me, so it would help me because I'm busy, because you know I work full-time job as a nurse practitioner, and so I needed a way to be able to remind myself that, hey, oh, I need to plant seeds, or I need to actually put these plants out into the ground. And so I went into my calendar app and I created little calendar reminders for 12 weeks, and then what I was supposed to do at 12 weeks. And then, so I need to start seeds basically at 12 weeks, which is January 15th for me. And so I did that for 12 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 4 weeks. And then I put on there for March 25th, which is like the end of March, roughly. I just kind of picked a Saturday at the end of March. That's when I want to plan out my spring brassicas. And it was kind of an odd date. And then 2 weeks, which is April 1st. And then my actual average last frost date is April 15th. And then I put that in there. And then I just did these as reoccurring events so that I would have this in my calendar in my phone every single year. So anyway, that's one thing I did to kind of help me stay organized. And so the lavender we're going to try, and it's going to go into our bag here for the 12-week seed starting. So I'm just going to set all these aside, and we're going to talk about them, and then I'll put them into the baggie. Then I'm going to try to grow some kohlrabi. I tried a little bit last year and they started to bulb up, but I started all of my brassicas way too late. I started them about the time that they should have gone out into the garden. I started them March 15th, end of March. It was in March. I think it was around March 15th is actually when I started them. And it was slow starting. Half of my seedlings didn't do real well. And so I didn't actually get any kohlrabi to really bulb out and form last year. So I'm going to try it again. It's a new vegetable for me. Never have grown it before, but I'm curious to try it and see if I like it or not. So I'm going to try kohlrabi. So that I will start out at 12 weeks. And then cauliflower, I'm going to try to grow a little bit of cauliflower. And I just got, these are from Johnny's. I have a variety of seed companies that I get from. But this is an F1 hybrid. That one is as well. And this is just a hybrid white cauliflower called Fujiyama. So we're going to try that. And then I have a couple different cabbage varieties that I'm going to try. I did grow some of the early Jersey Wakefield last year. And then I actually got 3 small cabbage heads off of this before it got too hot. So I'm going to try again. Like I said, I started them about 2 months too late. So it's no wonder I really didn't get very big stuff or any at all. So I'm going to try this again. And so I'm going to do the early Jersey Wakefield, and then I'm also going to try a red acre cabbage and have a couple varieties of cabbage. And then I've got a couple varieties of broccoli that I'm going to try and see which one does better for me. So I've heard that this Green Magic hybrid broccoli does pretty well for hotter climates. And then also I found that the Belstar broccoli, that's an F1 hybrid. Both of these are F1 hybrids. That both of these are supposed to do well in warmer climates. So I know sometimes it can be really cool in the spring and then it'll like warm up really quickly. So I'm just going to try and see if I can find some varieties that will work here in Kansas. So that's all of my cool season veggies that I'm going to be growing. And then I also am going to start peppers because they take a while to germinate. And I discovered that last year. They took quite a while. I actually grew a bunch of peppers in my green stock last year and they did really well in there. I'm not sure if I will do that again. I may, because I don't need like a ton of pepper. So my pepper plants don't have to get huge, but I like to just have a few. So I may still go ahead and grow peppers again in the green stock, but I'm only going to do one of the hot pepper varieties this year. I'm just going to do some more jalapenos. Those did really well for me last year in the green stock. So, and the serranos did too, actually. So I think I will grow just jalapenos this year. I still have some spicy peppers in the freezer from last year. I have some Hungarian hot wax and I still have jalapenos and serranos. So I may end up using those for my salsa. And I was trying to decide if I really needed to grow some jalapenos, but I I think I will, just in case, because I'd hate to like not want them and then not have them. So I think I'll grow just like a very few, like a plant or two of some of jalapenos. So we'll try that. And then this one is going to be a new seed for me this year. It's from Renee's Garden, and it's the Hungarian Magyar paprika pepper. So I'm going to try to grow some paprika peppers and dry them in my dehydrator and make paprika powder and make my own spice. So I kind of wanted to dry them this year and just see what happened. And grow them. So we're going to grow them and then see if I can get some paprika peppers to potentially have my own paprika pepper and have my own spice powder. So I'm going to try that. Another gardener that I follow in Kansas, she has done this particular variety of the paprika peppers and said they do great for her. So I'm hopeful that that will be the same for me. So these aren't really a spicy pepper per se. They are more of a sweet pepper variety, I believe. I don't think that they are a super spicy pepper. I mean, paprika itself is not. So. And then I have some sweet peppers. So I grew Jimmy Nardellos last year, and I really I didn't mind the Jimmy Nardello peppers. Like I don't like bell peppers at all, the green bell peppers, and they upset my stomach, and I just don't like the flavor of them at all. And so I haven't really ever grown bell peppers just in general because I don't like bell peppers. And so I thought, well, I'll try these Jimmy Nardello peppers and just see. And I tried them raw and they were not bad. So I might actually try to grow more of the Jimmy Nardellos this year and try cooking with them. I did use them in my spaghetti sauce last year because I needed a little bit of a pepper in there. So I put them in there and they did great in my spaghetti sauce. So I'm going to be growing more Jimmy Nardellos for sure. And then this one is a new variety. It's the yellow Corno di Toro. They're just a yellow Italian sweet grilling pepper. So just trying some new ones, and they're a sweet pepper. They're not spicy. And then I am going to try Pippin's Golden Honey just for some color. So that's basically why I added these in, was just to have a little bit of color. And these are supposed to be a sweet pepper as well. So they can, looks like, be kind of orangish to purple. So anyway, so I am curious to try these and see how they are. So those are the peppers that I am growing. So all of this right here needs to go into my 12-week bag. So on January 15th or around that time, it may not be right on the 15th, I need to be starting all of these seeds. So I thought the easiest way for me to do that would be to organize this out into these little baggies. And so now I can just grab this little baggie right here and take it with me to go plant out my seedlings. So that is my first bag. And then my 8-week bag, let's see. So, well, let me finish out here. So in here I have got, I'm going to try growing a couple different new varieties of cantaloupe this year. So this is the Ambrosia hybrid. My brother grows these and loves them, and they are delicious. They are super, super sweet. So I'm going to try growing the Ambrosia, and then I'm also going to try growing the Athena cantaloupe. And this one here is popular around here, like at our Mennonite stores or Amish food stands, stuff like that. I have got the Athenas, and they're really good as well. So I thought I'm going to try both of them and see which one does well for me and see which one I like better, and we're going to go for it. So, so these here will be direct sown once I get my garden out. So I will probably wait to direct sow till around May 1st, even though our last frost is at the middle of April. We are kind of in that area where our garden zone, we used to be 6B, and then they made us into 7A when they kind of redid the zones. So I sometimes kind of push planting out till about the first part of May because I want to make sure that everything is doing okay. So even though my average last frost is mid-April, I generally will push it another couple weeks before I direct sow anything or actually plant out my plants. So these will be direct sown in May. along with a couple of my squash. I'm gonna try yet again to grow some zucchini and some yellow summer squash. So I did last year, and you can see obviously I had my packets. These are what I used last year. And then I also grew some scallop squash. I had a whole bed of squash last year, and it was like a nightmare to try to keep up with the squash bugs, I will say. And so this year I was like, I don't even know if I want to deal with it, but I think I'm gonna try growing some of these in just grow bags and maybe have just a couple plants of each one. So I'm not gonna grow a lot of squash. I'm gonna try to start them. So last year I just direct sowed them the first part of May, and then the squash bugs came sometime in June. I'd have to look back at my diary. But it was sometime in June when the squash bugs came and I started seeing the eggs on the leaves, and then it was just, I solidly fought those boogers for 2 months, and then I kind of gave up and I was like, I'm done. By the end of July, I was like, I'm done, because I would have to go out about every 2 or 3 days and go through each leaf, and I found that I had like painter's tape, and I just went around and pulled the little eggs off with the painter's tape, and that, I mean, it really kept the I was able to get a little bit, mostly of the yellow squash. That's what did really well for me last year. My summer squash zucchini, I had one plant that just did not do well at all, and it pretty much died out. And then the other one grew a little bit, and I got one zucchini off of it. So I kind of struggled a little bit with my squashes last year, and I don't know if I just didn't have enough honeybees coming in. I did have some. I definitely had bees because I went out there and early in the mornings and I could see the bees. So I did have them, but they didn't do a lot of, like, normally you plant squash and people say, oh, you know, you got squash forever, but I struggled a little bit with squash. So I don't know. We're going to try it again, but like I said, I'm not going to like dedicate a whole garden bed to them. I'm just going to plant these in grow bags and then probably like move them into different areas around my garden. That way that it'll be a little bit harder for the squash bugs to find them. I'm hoping like maybe if it gets one plant, it won't find the other plant. And so that's kind of my plan, is to try growing these again in grow bags. I think they'll be just fine in grow bags and just let them sprawl out. And that's going to be my plan. So those are going to be direct sowed as well. And then I also am going to try a couple different varieties of cucumbers. I grew a small pickling cucumber last year, and it didn't do real great for me again. I think it was the pollinators. So I'm hoping I'm going to try to grow more flowers and have more flowers out there and try to intersperse more flowers in my garden. So I'm hoping that maybe I can have more bees and stuff come to my yard. I know that around my neighborhood, there's actually at least 2 different areas where there are beehives. So there are bees around here. And so I'm just hoping that they will come and find my stuff better this year. Of course, last year was my first real major garden. The year before I kind of just dabbled a little bit and didn't have much. So hopefully this next year they'll find my stuff. But so I'm going to try the Poinsett 76 cucumber. It was one that I had and I thought, well, I'll try it. It has got, where it can be used for pickling and for, you know, salads and stuff like that. So I thought, well, I'll try that. And then I wanted to try these Space Master 80 cucumbers. They're supposed to be more of a bush variety, and they don't vine out as badly as regulars. They do climb a little bit, like 2 to 3 feet, whereas these climb 6 to 8 feet. So I probably will end up gravitating towards the Space Master if these do well for me, because I have little A-frames that are like probably a good 2 or 3 feet tall that I used last year. So we'll see which one does better, but I'm just going to try and see what happens with cucumbers. I'd like to make a few more pickles this year. The only pickles that I made last year was someone gave me some cucumbers from their garden, and then I actually used their pickling recipe, tweaked it a little bit, and actually canned up some pickles that were delicious. So I thought maybe I would try growing cucumbers again, but the cucumbers, I am going to start them in week 4. So let me grab that bag, and we will put those in there. And then my direct sow bag is what the cantaloupe's going into. And then I thought I would start my cucumber, actually my squash and cucumber both are gonna go into my 4-week bag. I thought I would start these guys a little early. Last year I planted them, I direct sowed them in May. And so I thought maybe if I got a little head start with them and planted them out about March 14th into my seedling trays, that maybe I could have my plants be a little bit bigger. So that's my thought. All right, let's see. So now we are moving along to my next bunch of seeds. Okay, this is gonna be some flowers and herbs, looks like. So there's a couple, I wanted to grow some sunflowers this year, so I'm trying a couple varieties of sunflowers. This is the teddy bear sunflower, which is supposed to get 2 to 3 feet tall, and then this is the dwarf sunspot dwarf, and it also is supposed to only get 2 to 3 feet tall. I wanted to try to grow some smaller ones and see if I can actually like not have giant sunflowers in my yard. So I thought I would try the smaller variety. So anyway, we're gonna see if we get sunflowers, but the sunflowers will be started indoors about 2 weeks before our first frost. So about April 1st, I'm gonna start them. And then I'm gonna try to grow some echinacea. And this one here also is going to be started around April 1st, but this one can actually be sown, direct sown in the garden, so 2 weeks before the last frost date. And this is from Baker Creek. So this one here tells me on the back of the packet, and so does the In My Garden. The In My Gardener and the Baker Creek really have good information on them, and typically so does Botanical Interest, which is the next one. So I'm getting kind of ahead of myself. So, but anyway, echinacea is going to go in the 2-week packet along with the sunflowers, but this one's going to be direct sown. And then catnip is also, I'm going to try to grow some catnip, and this one can also be direct sown. And so that's going to be the plan, is to put it out, it says sow as late as 2 months before your average first frost date. So it also says start 2 to 4 weeks before your average last frost date. So I'm gonna say 2 weeks, so around April 1st. So that's what we're gonna go with for the catnip. So catnip, of course, is gonna be an herb that I plan to use. And then chamomile, I'm hoping to grow chamomile. I've got to figure out like where I'm gonna actually grow some of these herbs, because I don't know yet. But chamomile is going to be my next herb that I'm going to try to grow. And this one here is going to be direct sown at 4 weeks before the first frost. It says that they recommend 4 to 6 weeks before your average last frost, and as soon as the soil can be worked. So as soon as the soil warms up enough where you can actually get out there and work it, then you can actually direct sow the chamomile. So that's my plan there. Why don't I go ahead? These are 2 weeks, so let me go ahead and put these in the 2-week bag so I don't get all confused. I think that's all that goes in there, and then the chamomile is 4 weeks. Okay, and then zinnias, these are going to be planted indoors. I grew a few last year, and I saved some seeds from them. They were just like a variety that my mom had given me, and I just threw them in a flower pot, and I loved them. They were just all colorful and so pretty. So I wanted to grow more zinnias. And they were pretty hardy with the heat and everything that we have here. So they did pretty well for me, so I'm going to grow more. And I am going to try this candy stripe variety. These have got like red striping on it. So we're just going to try. Probably I'm going to do some of my actual, which I need to get and put in, because I have them saved in a little baggie, those seeds. So I need to get those, kind of sprinkle those in along with these here. And these I will be starting indoors at 6 weeks. And then marigolds, I have a couple different varieties of marigolds, just orange, and then the petite orange that I got from Walmart, and then this was the Little Hero Fire. I'm gonna try that, and this is I haven't tried this variety yet, and this one is from Baker Creek. And I love marigolds. They are very, very easy to grow for me. I grew them in my green stalks, the top of my green stalks last year. And then I had 3 flower pots out in my garden that was full of marigolds, and they do really well in the heat. And so I will probably grow marigolds. They're supposed to be pest deterrents, so I may actually try to plant some in the actual garden beds this year, a little bit here and there, just to add some color and try to do things a little bit different. But marigolds are going in my garden, and those are going to get started indoors at 6 weeks. And then I got parsley, and this is a direct sow for me, so I will start this and I'll probably put it in my green stock. I didn't grow any last year. I grew some the very first year I had my green stalks. And the fun part for me, I have some still preserved. I dehydrated it and I still have parsley left. And the big reason that I'm doing it this year is because it pulled in the, now I can't remember what they are, the type of butterfly, but it basically is where is it swallowtail? I think it's swallowtail. That's what it is. It's the swallowtail butterfly. So it was attracting those caterpillars, and they just love this. And so I decided I'm going to grow it again, mostly for the caterpillars, because they ate the stuff, and I didn't, like, at a certain point I didn't get any more parsley, but it was okay. But it was so fun to see them on there and then know that they were going to turn into the swallowtail butterflies that are really pretty. So I will probably grow this again, and this is mostly just for the butterflies. If I get a little bit of fresh parsley for drying, great. For use, that'll be great, but it's mostly for the butterflies. But this one is going to be a direct sow, and I will probably grow it in my green stock, most likely. And then I got sage. This one I have not ever grown before, so I'm going to try growing some sage. And this one can be grown, started indoors about 3 to 4 weeks before the last frost. So I'm going to stick it in my 4-week pile here. And then I have lemon balm, which I did grow last year, and I loved the smell of lemon balm. And then I've been using this lemon balm now for teas. And so I am wanting to grow lots of lemon balm. I love the lemon balm, and has great medicinal properties to it. It's great for like the nervous system, and it'll help you, like you can put it in like a relaxing sleepy time tea, anything to help kind of calm the nerves. And so it's a great one. So lemon balm is definitely going to be on my go-to grow list every single year now. And I love it. And I just would go up and I'd rub the leaves, and it just smelled so lemony and great. And so I loved growing lemon balm. I didn't get a lot of it last year. And so that's why I want to grow more this year. I want to have a bigger area of it. So I'm may look at growing, instead of in the green stock, I probably am gonna get like some big planters and try to grow some of these herbs that I know I want a lot of in these planters. But lemon balm can be started at 6 weeks indoors. So I'm gonna stick it right here in this little packet. And then I got a couple basils that I am gonna grow this year. Genovese basil, which is just the common cooking basil, and then I'm going to grow holy basil. So basil, just general basil, grows really well for me and does great. And I preserved a lot last year and dried it. And oregano. I don't have oregano seeds. I have actually ordered oregano and rosemary and mint. I don't have any of those, but those are all ordered, so they will be coming, as well as calendula. I didn't talk about those. But so calendula flowers I'm going to be using for medicinal properties. They have some good benefits. They also are great for skin. So I want to grow them for the beauty of them, and then I want to dry them and save them for my home apothecary. And so basil, both of these are going to be started at 6 weeks, so I can put them in there. Okay. And then we will move on to our last one. We're getting close, guys. So I am growing snapdragons again. So last year my seeds didn't start very well and I started them late, and I ended up growing these two different varieties, the Orange Wonder and the Cherry Twist, and I'm going to try to grow them again. I thought the Orange Wonder, I really thought they were pretty. This Cherry Twist was kind of like a purpley white color. These here was like a salmon, pink, and yellow, and they were very beautiful. I loved them. So I'm going to try them again, and I did have a few plants that survived, but I would like to have some more of these. So I have added snapdragons in, and those will be started at 8 weeks prior to my frost date. And then tomatillos, I have not grown tomatillos ever, but I wanted to try growing some tomatillos. I know you have to have at least 2 tomatillo plants for them to like germinate and actually have fruit. So I'm gonna try to grow some tomatillos. I'd like to be able to do like some salsa verde, and I know you have to have tomatillos. So we're just gonna see what tomatillos do for me. But tomatillos are on my list, and they are gonna be started indoors at 8 weeks. And then I got my tomatoes, all my tomatoes, bunch of tomatoes. So we'll talk about what I decided to go with this year. So I'm trying to pare back a little bit on my tomatoes. I'm only going to grow one kind of cherry tomato, and that's the Sun Gold tomato. I also have some Sun Sugars, but those could be interchanged. They both are really good cherry tomatoes, but Sun Golds are my favorite. Sun Sugars, not Sun Cherry, sorry. Sun Sugars or Sun Golds. Sun Golds are my favorite. Sun Sugars are like my next favorite. And so I have seeds for both, but I'm just going to grow Sun Golds this year. I did last year, and I had 2 plants, I think, of Sun Golds, and then I had another variety of a cherry, and then another, so I had like 4 different cherry tomato plants. I had way too many cherry tomatoes, so I'm just going to go with 2 plants this year. That's all I'm going to do is 2 plants. So I'm going to grow more than that because my sister wants some, and I know my mom will want some, and sometimes we have trouble finding these tomato plants around here. Sometimes you can find them, but so I'm going to probably at least grow 6 or 7 plants, but Sun Golds are going in my garden, and those are going to get started at 8 weeks. And then my tomatoes, and these are an indeterminate style tomato. So I was looking at my garden last year, and I have 6 of the super tall cages, my tomato cages that I used. And so I'm only going to allow myself to have 6 tomato plants that are indeterminate, because I'm trying to stick with more of the determinate varieties, which will be like my paste style tomatoes. But the Sun Golds are indeterminate, so they will go into those containers that use my big tomato cages. And then the other 2, so these were both indeterminate. The other 2 is a Tiffin Mennonite. This is a new variety I've never grown before. It's an indeterminate. And the tomatoes can get up to like 1 pound fruits. So it says that they are low in seeds, and it can be good for canning and sauces and slicing. So I thought, well, why not? Because I do want to do canning again this year. And so I thought, well, I can always use them for slicing, or we can use them for canning. And then the Amish paste, I always love growing these. I don't know if I have very many seeds in here. Not very many. I may have to, yeah, it'll probably be enough to get things going though. But Amish paste are always fun to grow. They do pretty well for me, and they just grow all season long. So they just kind of come in a little bit at a time. But some of the tomatoes get, that big, and they're real big and thick. So they're kind of fun to grow. So I'll probably grow the Amish paste just because I know they have done well. So far, the only new variety is the Tiffin Mennonite. And so these are my 3 indeterminates. So I'm going to have 2 plants of each. That's my plan. And then these others are going to be my determinate varieties. So another one I'm going to try to grow is the Saucy Lady. This is a brand new one from Haas that I have never grown before. But it is supposed to be good, obviously, for canning sauces, hence the name Saucy Lady. So I'm going to try that one. And then I'm also going to try growing some Inca Jewel, and these are the Roma style tomatoes. They're kind of what they say a container Roma tomato. Um, the girl that I mentioned before that grew the Hungarian Magyar peppers, paprika peppers, also loves, she said these are her favorite canning tomatoes, and she grows these every single year. So I decided I'm going to give it a shot and see if I like this particular Inca Jewel Roma style tomato. So these are going to be my Romas that I'm growing this year. I did grow some Romas last year, and they were just, I think they were in my gardener. No, actually they were not. The Romas that I grew last year, I got nervous. Well, most of the Romas that I grew last year, I should say, because my seeds were not doing well, like I mentioned. And so I went, because I wanted tomatoes, so I went to the hardware store and I bought some Roma tomatoes, and then also some like slicing tomatoes. And so I had mostly the Romas that I got were from the hardware store. There was a few that I had that were ones that I grew from seed, but not much. And then the other determinant tomato plant that I'm going to grow are these Heat Master from Gurney's seeds. And they are supposed to be a tomato plant that really does well during dry weather and the heat. And we struggle here a lot to have like, it seems like we'll get like rain in May and June, and then it just dries off in July and August, or like it's a dry desert, and sometimes September too. So I decided to try these and just see what they did for me. But they're supposed to be a determinate style, I believe they're supposed to be more of a paste style. So we'll see. I've never grown them, but this is going to be a new variety for me for this year too. But they are a determinate. And so that is all my tomatoes. I really have cut back on my tomato growing. So I'm proud of myself because it's so hard to, because I just want to like grow all the tomatoes. Last year I had about 30 different plants. I don't know that I will have less plants this year because I don't know, I probably want like 5, 10, trying to think, I probably want of the Heat Master and the Romas and the Saucy Lady. I mean, I want a lot of those plants. So I don't know how many. I'll probably be growing like 5 or 6 of each of those. So that would be 5, 10, 15. I probably need more than that. I probably need at least 20 to 25 of the. So we'll see. I think I had about 30 tomato plants last year, and it was, I don't know, 30 wasn't a bad number, so I may go with that again. We'll see. I don't know. I haven't fully decided on that. And then the last thing in my packet is green beans. I'm still on the fence if I'm going to grow green beans this year or not. It will depend on if I go through my jars of beans that I have. I have a lot canned up, and plus I have some in the freezer that I haven't even canned yet. That's something I need to be doing, and I was going to pull them out and just can them, and I haven't done that yet. So the green beans, they can be direct sown, but the jade green beans are my favorite. They're a bush style bean. My brother has grown those. He loves them, and that is really the only bean that I have grown so far is the jade bush beans. So I am going to put them in my packet for the direct sow because I may end up doing green beans. I haven't completely decided. So so that is it, guys. That is my little garden plan for 2026. And I will be bringing you guys along with me as I am working on planting my seeds and getting my seedlings going. And I am so hopeful that I do better with my seedlings this year. Last year, they really suffered. And then my seedlings in summer, when I tried to grow my brassicas for the fall, those just did terrible. And so I'm very hopeful that maybe this year I will get better at the seed starting thing. I do really well like direct sowing stuff. That does great. So I think like my biggest problem was I was using a seed starting mix that didn't have any nutrition, and I didn't realize it. And so I bought new seed starting mix this year to start fresh. And so I'm hopeful. I'm going to cross my fingers, but I'm hoping that my seeds do better. And this year I moved my setup out into my sunroom, and it's going to be cold out there in January and in February whenever I'm starting some of these seeds, and even in March. So I have heat mats that I'm probably going to have to put down, and then I'm going to have to run a heater out there. So I have my little Amish fireplace heater out there, and I'm probably just going to have to start running it. So it's going to be a little more electricity to get the seeds going this year, but it'll be worth it in the end. But I'm going to have to run my heater because I'll have to start these by January 15th. So I'll have probably a couple months where I'm running my heater out there just to keep it warm enough, unless we're lucky and have some warmer days. So, all right, well, that is it. That is my garden plan for 2026. These are the seeds that I'm going to be starting. I am super excited to get the 2026 garden going. And of course, I'm going to bring you guys along with. So as you know, this channel, it's kind of, so I'm a nurse practitioner for anyone who is new here. And I do gardening and a little bit of herbalism, just kind of dabbling in that. I do canning, preservation, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a way for me to decompress and relax at home. And I have discovered that I enjoy gardening, and it's been fun. And I enjoy preserving and canning and all the things. And so it is just a way for me to kind of set the stressful, busy chaos of healthcare aside. And I do gardening and stuff to kind of relax. So this is like my little corner of the internet where I am doing gardening and just kind of slowing down and relaxing at home. So if you are in a busy, stressful job and you want to follow along and learn gardening or garden along with me, that would be great. I would love to hear from you guys. So definitely follow, subscribe, comment. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I will see you very soon in the next one. Bye, friends.